But even if it's the zone one, it's single family, or what's the zone as far as that?
So it's the zone, the one is. Well, we got it, but what is it on the tax? Potential businesses. It says 3 family.
3 family, you do it.
Yeah, I know, so it has, but we're grandfather. Well, I think we're going by how it's used as opposed to, I mean, we don't always perfectly align with the tax. I understand that, but you know, I need to be able to explain that. Right, so I think we need to be clear, have clarity about limits in our discussion. Right.
I was trying to figure out some stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw it like being grandfather, I'm like, well, was he using it as an faulty? Now,
So my understanding is no. Really? So
And that was
there's no
the other application, which I'm not sure, I couldn't even tell what it was for, but it carried a description of how the property was being used.
Yeah. that's- Okay, we'll open this up.
Okay.
Okay, the time is 5:02. Open the January 2023 meeting of the zoning board of appeals. We have one public hearing scheduled for tonight. Previously there were 2 scheduled, but the application for 94 Pioneer has been withdrawn. So we have a public hearing for 10 Glen Avenue, and I'll open that public hearing at 5:03. 10 Glen Avenue was issued a special permit for a short-term rental in 2019.
2019.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just a 3-year permit, so it needs to be every 3 years. So that's what we're doing tonight, is reviewing that. So is there any public comment, or did you receive any public comment on this application?
I haven't received any public comment on this application.
Okay, and do you think the owner will be here tonight?
Do not believe so. I've not been able to reach them by the phone or email.
Okay. So just for a little bit of background, do you know which property this is? Did you drive by Glen Avenue? It's like Methodist Church, and there's 1, 2, it's the 3rd house on the right going up the hill. So back in 2019 in the spring, we granted a special permit, as I said, and the application at that point said this. Oh, wait, no, this is Eugene here, so this is a original application, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And the property is,
It's Frank Eugene, and he uses different names for time.
there's another a child. Or
Yeah. Okay. So this is, so the situation is, just to kind of refresh our memories and go back, and I don't remember the extent to which this was even discussed back at that point, but on the tax records, this is identified as a 3-family house. I think there's a primary residence, there's some sort of studio apartment, and then over the garage is a 1-bedroom. Is that true? Is that what it is? It's no more than 1 bedroom, it's either another studio or 1-bedroom.
That's my understanding.
So in the application 3 years ago, says the house consists of an owner occupied 75% of the house, in parentheses, on the main level, with an upper level studio restricted to family use only, parentheses, never rented. Small lower level apartment of less than 500 square feet attached that would be rented short term. Owner resides in the property at all times and parking is more than adequate. So when you look back at the way that it was initially approved, it was granted for an owner occupied, owner operated 1-bedroom short-term rental. The rental shall be located in the 1-bedroom accessory apartment, maximum total occupancy of 10 people on the property, 3 required parking spaces per their parking plan on file. And this permit will terminate into 3 years. So here's what I think happened is that I have no idea about the previous, like the mayors had only just a couple of years at this point, I think. I have no idea how the previous owners, if they rented all those units or just had them for other and used them themselves, I don't know. So, but the tax records do say it is 3-family, as we're all familiar with our zoning law. The short-term rentals are not allowed in multifamily units. But in this situation, because the way they use it is not as a 3-family, but as basically the process that we went through was kind of what we're talking about for the Lake Street property, which was initially considered as an accessory apartment, the unit over the garage, so it's a single family dwelling with a apartment of the garage. And then secondarily, if that's granted, consider it as a short-term rental for that apartment of the garage. So I think that, you know, so we just have a situation where what we reviewed and what's been identified as the actual use is different than the way it's taxed. And I would say that the taxing could catch up with what we reviewed, I don't know. And honestly, I don't know what happens if the next owner wants to rent long-term units and that would cover 3 of them again. That's a kind of question for another day. But I would say that it was apparently in the public record and, you know, probably part of the session, I just don't recall, that this is, you know, that even though it has 3 units, 2 of them are solely used by the owner and with nothing rented in those. And the only rental component, short or long term, was this 1 unit less than 500 square feet, which I think is over the garage, but it's so, oh no, it says lower level. Okay. Lower level.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth taking a look when we're at.
So I would say that as we reconsider this, I would say one condition should be, and in the future, maybe we need to make sure it's a condition prior to the public hearing, is to have the house verify that genuinely is not misused. And make it real clear with the conditions that that's how the total property is used. Because every once in a while, there are times when, in fact, your neighbor's another example, Marcy, where we don't, you know, where we think we understand how the total property is used, and in reality, we don't. And we make decisions, you know, without full information. Okay. So there's no public comment, but I'm gonna leave it open for at least 15 minutes. So we will move on and then come back to this, unless we're in the public hearing. But does anyone have any comments or questions that they need, that they would like answered before we'll get into a discussion later?
So it doesn't matter if the 2-family or a multi-family or not, it's only used for the family, they can get an accessory short-term rental, even though it's a multi-family house.
No, not multifamily, only if you have an accessory apartment.
Well, no, but this is, I mean, we need to navigate the fact that this is a multifamily on the tax rolls.
Right, but
So I'm ready to navigate that, but we need to understand it.
3 years ago, though, we issued a special permit for an accessory apartment, which can only be granted to a single family residence.
But we sort of did it as a variance, don't you think?
No special permit.
There's a special permit, but we sort of did it. I think we consciously we consciously accepted from the owner that it's not used as a multifamily home, even though it's on the tax rolls as a multifamily home. It's a multifamily home then.
And it is today.
Right, so I mean, I want to address that.
Right, and I would say the way to address that is with, or we need to involve the assessor with that. You know, I don't know what, as we make decisions and as people get things added and stuff like that, I don't know at what point the assessor reassesses and, you know, and corrects records. Does outcome
But
down?
we're not driving that bus.
No, but I'm saying, no, but I think it's really, I would say it's for the assessor to catch up to us, not.
Oh, see, I think we are, the way I view it, I don't think the assessor needs to catch up to us on this one. I think we are doing this despite the assessment. We are doing this because we have a special understanding in the situation. I don't think we are, I don't get comfortable thinking that the assessor should change the assessment. It's a multi-family, I mean, okay, fine, he's using it for his, you know, maybe his family comes and visits and everything.
Okay.
That doesn't, I mean, I don't want to permanently change it to something from a multi-family to a single family, just because we feel that since he's only using, you know, one of them for rental, that you know, it looks different. I mean, I'm okay with actually with giving you the permit with the proviso that he only rents the one place. But I don't want to go there. I don't want to change the assessment.
Okay,
There are multiple meters mounted on the wall, so the house is constructed to be multifamily. But then I don't know if the assessment's based on the value that the owner is currently getting from the property, or the resale value, or et cetera. Like presumably you could kind of build as many kitchens as you wanted to in your house, and the assessor and the county codes and us might all kind of look at it a little bit differently depending on whether or not it's value or its use, or
That's up to these. I don't want to do this with the thought in the back of my mind that, oh, the assessor will catch up to this and change it to single family. No, and the other thing is, we've got pending, sort of pending, the one at 12 Susquehanna. I mean, that's been a 2-family home. I mean, it should probably, honestly, the way it's been used is as a 3-family home. And I mean, for the whole time I've lived there. But it's assessed as a 2-family home. I mean, I don't want to get into the business of changing all that. I mean, I'm not unsympathetic to giving them some kind of a, you know, trend. I mean, I understand it's a special property, but I do not want to go as far as to, you know, think that the assessment should be changed. And I certainly don't want to give a permit with the idea that the assessment should be changed.
When was the last assessment done? No,
No, I didn't say a woman, but I don't know. I mean, mine is maybe 8 years old.
I would say,
I don't know.
probably it's about 10 years between assessments.
Yeah, generally speaking.
But in general, I mean, certainly Al must correct, you know, when people build an addition, they shouldn't wait 10 years before that gets appraised. I mean, like, he must regularly kind of update his assessment records.
I rehab got assessed right away.
it was right there.
It looks like yeah.
The property. I know.
Grove Street too. On Grove Street and my house, they were assessed because of permits and stuff like that. So,
Oh, that's just between the assessor and the owner.
I mean, I don't know if that's the case. No, what's the same?
There's no
Because
assess.
changing that much tax my revenue.
I know, but it's just everybody's.
That might be the first thing sells that, let's put it this way, where I lived other places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that is happening. Okay, so that, I would say that you convinced me, Marcy, that, that these are distinctly different. I guess what I do recall from when we worked on the changes to this law was that the whole point of it was to be more restrictive for short-term rentals. And one of the major things was that it was no longer available to multifamily or even 2-family. It was only a condition where you have a single family with an accessory apartment.
Right.
And you said there's no definition for that anymore. So, wasn't that your note?
I think the language has changed. You mean
New
definition for accessory apartment?
Yeah.
I think it's changed to accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, so accessory, okay, but then in 17.1, it still uses the term accessory apartment, doesn't it? Yeah, previously approved accessory apartment. So I think when we wrote that, we were thinking previously approved prior to the change in the law. It doesn't actually say that though. Because what did we have just like last month or something like that, a similar kind of previous, or no, it was this property we're talking about. That, you know, as long as one preceded the other, then it was previously approved, and that's what the law says.
Right.
I asked Jackson if it's possible to get a copy of the assessment report, just to see what it said. Just for some additional information for us.
Is that all?
It's not- it's not like- I know I looked at how many Hollywood for was that 3-family designation.
If it's the same as what's on the real property, then it's online. I don't know if that would be real property is updated by the county, and there's probably some lag.
Not 3 years back. Yeah. I wouldn't think so. Okay. Yeah, what I don't know are, you know, for the same square footage, what's the assessment differential between a 3-family and a single family with an accessory apartment? You know, and maybe there's none, but
I
it's
wouldn't
hard to
think
believe
so,
it would be.
but
None. Yeah,
Leaning on the.
it's based on the asset, not the income that you generate from the asset. So, but anyway.
yeah. And I'm sure it basically goes back to sale prices of capital properties and so I don't know that he bases it on rental value. Okay. So basically what was approved the last time was they were, we would make a brand new say that if we approve this, if there's a motion to approve that, we need to add more clarity to the motion to acknowledge the fact that even though it may be listed as a 3-family by special permit 3 years ago, it was granted permission to operate as a single family plus a single short-term rental. And this approval would be conditional upon that use. But you're right that if you gave up if the next owner wants to rent 3 units long term, they might have a hard time providing parking if it had to be re-approved at that point. It's really the grandfathering is beneficial for the 3-family. All right, we passed. Okay. So the time is 5:18. I'll close the public hearing and let's go ahead and finish up this application then. And then move on to the other one. So any other discussion or questions that we should have answered before we make a decision?
Well, you said something earlier about having Jackson go over and look at the property. That's still.
Yeah, we could either wait and have him do that and then make a decision at the next meeting, or make this conditional upon you're confirming that's actually how the house is used.
That works for me and I can get over there. If that works for everybody else.
Are you still traveling?
It's been pushed back to. April, May, June.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, all right. So we could make that, either condition, or we once it goes to the public hearing, we have 62 days, I think, to make a decision. So we can also defer decision to next month. The only risk with that is that we'd have to make sure we have at least 3 of us there, so that we could, be informed enough to make a
I'm
decision.
intending to be here.
I feel as long as condition that they prove that it's used as that, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should proceed with that
Okay, just make it a condition.
condition.
Okay.
Make a condition on
Nation of
Inspect.
housing
Yeah.
use. Yeah. So what we need from Jackson is like a note or
Yes,
something in writing
official file.
to confirm. Okay.
And that would help myself in the future, or whomever is the zoning officer. It's
Yeah.
it can be a challenge to go back and have to dig through everything, and the more concise we can be in each decision, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone has had a chance to look at we did review the parking last time, and there are 3 spaces that are all outside of the front yard setback, so that worked. When you're with Marcy.
Well, okay, I'm kind of ready, but let's, all right, I will make a motion to grant a renewal, is that how they're phrasing this? Or
Yeah, and I would say
a renewal to the special permit.
I'd say 3 year.
Okay. Well, it is a 3 year. I mean, isn't that?
Just, that's another thing that were captured.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to read it out. Okay, I'll make a motion to grant a renewal to 10 Glen Avenue of the special permit to operate a short-term rental with the proviso that the rental be located only in the one-bedroom accessory apartment and that the other two accessory apartments not be rented.
Is there two or one?
And there are three altogether, I think.
But I think only one classified as an accessory apartment.
I operate as a single family residence.
Okay, so let's redo that and say that the other two units, well, must be operated as part of the owner occupied residence.
Is the larger unit occupied by the owner?
Well, no, I think we're specifying that the one, I've already specified that the only one you can rent is the one bedroom.
Right, I got it.
I got more. Oh, the original permit, and in parentheses, for which this is a renewal, close parentheses. Was granted because even though this property is on the tax rolls as a multifamily dwelling, as a three-family dwelling, the applicant uses all but the one-bedroom unit for personal use. The granting of this renewal today is conditional on the CEO verifying the use of all other units as for the owner's use alone. In addition, there shall be a maximum total occupancy of 10 people on the property at any one time.
Where does the number of people come in? Is that in the zoning law?
That, yeah, which, so I mean, I don't really need to repeat it, but it's just a reminder, you know, that, you know, if you're gonna have 50 family members there, maybe you shouldn't be renting to families. Now, do you think we should put this permit shall be valid from until through December 31st of 2026.
No, 25,
Oh, December 31st, yeah, right, it's 2025.
3 years.
yeah, I think that's good to verify.
Next word was this.
The acceptance, okay. You read that back?
Yes, I have a blank, one blank, but, so Marcy made the motion to grant a renewal to 10 Glen Avenue. Of the special permit to operate a short-term rental with the proviso that the rental be located only in the 1-bedroom accessory apartment, and that the other 2 units must be operated as part of the owner-occupied
Residents.
Thank you. The original permit for which this is a renewal was granted because even though this property is on the tax rolls as a 3-family dwelling, the applicant uses all but the 1-bedroom for personal use. The granting of this renewal today is conditional on the CEO verifying the use of all other units as per the owner's use alone. In addition, there shall be a maximum total occupancy of 10 people on property at any one time. This permit shall be, I believe the wording was valid through the 31st of December 2025. Great, okay.
You want to say anything in there about the CEO documenting his findings?
Well, it's conditional on him verifying and documenting.
That's a good idea.
I think verifying that.
Yeah.
Also, do we wish to say that 10 people residing on the property?
Yeah, resolve gets
Yeah.
better, you know, because, yeah, it's different from just. Yeah, really.
Don't have much there.
So you have to rephrase that sentence, in addition, it should be a maximum of 10 people residing on the property, as well as the property, yeah.
And at one time.
In addition, there should be a maximum of 10 people.
So there should be a maximum.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay.
So a maximum of 10 people residing, add that word, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The property is-
Got it.
Okay, wait, okay, so let's think that out, wait a minute. Okay, so suppose I had a transient rental. I'm limited to 10 people on the property at one time, residing on the property at one time. Okay, but if my kids and grandkids come for the weekend, it's gonna be more than 10 people. I mean, we're more than 10 people. We're like 15. So what does that mean as a practical matter?
I mean,
What does that mean? So, I mean, they're not residing, they're visiting, right?
Permanent residents. or something.
Yeah, I mean, if they, no, I just want to make sure, I think residing is okay, but I just want to verify it.
yeah, I think it doesn't mean
Yeah,
this,
so if they all move in and get jobs, that's different.
right,
Okay,
and I would say, because we're talking about this as a short-term rent. Certainly, you could. I mean, even in a stringent situation, they could not rent it for that weekend.
well, that's what yes, that's what I'm thinking, that's what this means. But I just want to make sure it's different from your kids.
I don't think the 10 is not a limit for like a single family residence, it only applies when you have short-term rentals, right? Pardon?
I believe it's 10 unrelated people.
10.
10 unrelated.
Unrelated.
Because I'm sure I would never have this discussion about how, you know, there are households. Yeah. That have unrelated people and maybe 10 of them.
Well, there's definitely, there's a definite definition of, One of the definitions, one of families, I think it's families.
Right.
It's talked about
Yeah.
unrelated people and, let me see
Yeah.
what that's. But it doesn't say, that's not where the 10 comes in.
You're,
Family says one,
yeah,
a person or persons related by genetics or marriage or recognized legal bond, including but not limited to adoption, foster child, foster parent, relationship, domestic partnership, and up to 4 additional unrelated people who occupy a dwelling, and 4, 2, up to 5 unrelated people who occupy a dwelling. So that first definition would be more than 10 people.
Yeah.
And still be considered family.
in 300-17.1. B4, it says occupancy, the maximum occupancy of any parcel in a residential district shall be 10 people. And the building has demonstrated on the floor plan submitted with the application shall provide for the operator a minimum of 1 bedroom for every 2 family members in residence.
Somebody know what that is?
317 or 300-17.1 B4.
Before. Okay, you're right.
Wait a minute.
Any residential,
Point, short-term rental, C. 3, okay, never mind.
so that only applies to transient rentals.
Yeah.
That limit of 10 is not applicable to all residential districts, just ones that have short-term rentals.
We're correct.
So that would be another thing that you could, when you visit. Yes, I don't remember whether the schematic that they provided included any schematic of the house, but that would be generally helpful information to have.
Right.
So what is this, a minimum of 1 bedroom for every 2 family members, short-term rental? So we don't need to say anything, like this is a 1 bedroom short-term rental, so they're not limited to just 2 people in that, right? I mean, you could bring a kid. Okay.
I don't know what it means though, if you only have 1 family member in residence, do they not require a bedroom?
Yeah, well, I don't get this, but,
We just.
and
wanted to
I mean,
discuss
you
it.
know,
Yeah,
what,
I think the idea that at the end of that phrase there, minimum 1 bedroom for every 2 family members was to try to have some kind of reasonable expectation that primarily this is a residence, you have the bedrooms for the family members. And the extra ones, you know, there may be another provision for, but I know that I've heard, you know, these stories of people that live in basements and rent out 5 bedrooms.
right,
and,
yeah, I think that's what
and
this
this
is
is not
meant to
the intent of
discourage.
owner occupied residence. Okay. All right, so we have got the motion and it's no changes, it's been seconded, we're ready to vote. Okay, all in favor? Okay, opposed? No, all right, so that's granted. Thank you. All right, second thing on our agenda is 76 Fair Street. You may remember. And under construction now.
76 Fair Street.
Yeah,
What?
high number.
That wasn't on my agenda. Oh,
It was very, very the other day.
Okay, so I'm slow out starting here.
So you remember the property?
Oh, I remember the property, is this fuel chain?
There's no change, but it'll be interesting to see what the H bar
It
says.
will be. He's requesting, I guess their headroom on the 2nd floor is about 6'3" maximum. And the depth of the roof rafters is about 4 inches, and so he is asking to raise the roof about 18 inches. And since that roof is within the both side and front yard setbacks, he needs a variance for that.
Yeah.
And since it will require a public hearing, I figured I'd bring it before you and see if we could set a public hearing and see contingencies that I could get some more information out of them if needed beforehand. He's also asking that the dormer on the south side of the property that was previously approved be allowed to be extended, which I believe is also within the side yard setback.
Right.
Because of how the property lines are very close.
Yes, it's in there.
So in the front and on the side yard setback. It's already in the setback, the old buildings, so this would be expanding non-conformity. Yeah.
The dormer is this portion here.
What did we? When Mrs. Heyman, remind me, what was it that we granted?
The addition, well, it had a number of additions that were removed in the back,
Yeah.
and the new plan is larger footprint on the first floor. And in some places it encroaches a little bit more, in some places a little bit less, but.
But
I
what
would say
did we
non-
grant?
The side yard setback.
Variance.
Actually, and also on the garage side.
And
But were these,
The whole garage is pulled down, right?
Then this,
Is not the garage.
Why is it affecting the house?
The apartment is still out asking garage, but it could feel with this additional height.
which way it is right now, so it moved it,
Yeah.
Changed.
That's what's trying to find.
is in the garage now, okay,
Instead of the house.
that could be the case. But in any event, the exterior really didn't change much as they moved the things around the plan. But I know that the most historic component and the only piece that got salvaged was this little front, 2-room per floor, low ceiling on the second floor. There's no surprise how low that ceiling is.
right,
Like
I
that,
can't stand up on the second floor of my 200-year-old pre-revitalized,
yeah,
I must say.
I know,
yeah, well, you're different.
They built that house for me. No, but it's like this, and this is something that all of you are writing here, this is the owner, so I presume all of you is involved in what does that do to the windows and how the trim change and. So it has not gone to H part.
I was gonna say, who comes first, though?
Well, I think since it's under construction, it made sense to me to kind of like. At least start this and set up a hearing, and in the interim, sure, H bar, anything we do would be contingent upon H bar, and anything they do be contingent upon us anyways. But rather, since it's under construction, it seems kind of a little mean to make them wait an extra month.
Right, and there are some details that they are having to wait on until H part meets the fenestration for the garage. H part wanted to have a revisit things like that, so.
Okay,
So we approved something on this earlier, so we've already started construction.
right, we approved setbacks, and this was maybe 6 or 8 months ago or something. We approved setbacks, it's very close to the side property line.
Yep.
So we approved a change to that for the addition, and also on the north property line where the garage is, there was a section that needed a variance.
I do remember that.
Yeah. So, and when you have. We did not have to address any variance here because this building already existed. But if it had been presented as a new construction, it would have required variances also because it was in this front and side yard setback. So this is called expansion of a non-conformity. If you had 18 inches to the roof, then you're still in a setback. If that little sliver is still a variance issue. So you were taking down the dimensions that I recorded, so what we can set a public hearing. Although certainly we'll hope that there's some kind of sense from H bar about whether this is actually something that they're likely to approve of.
Right.
But we will need drawings that accurately show what the existing and proposed height are. But it's 18 inches here, and then most of the back has a dormer across it.
Yeah.
So we'll just meet at the same point, but so it's not a big, it's a good shed piece back there. Okay. All right, so we'll set up a public hearing. And I would say that we'll probably, I guess we would hold the public hearing, even if there's not a lot of feedback from HR yet, but we may defer a decision until after we have some more sense of what the
Right.
You know, other any issues they may bring up or ends up getting tweaked and they only go 8 inches or who knows what happens.
Right.
Okay, all right. And then, you've given me
Forty Lake.
yeah. You want to talk about your project?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have any questions about or that or? Sorry.
It's just the paperwork I gave Jackson about the parking.
Yep. I shared that,
Oh, here it is.
long. And I believe, there were some questions that we had about the fact that there's another kind of residence inside there. That comes back easily though to, it's on the tax roll as a single family.
Okay.
What's the
I don't know how
score?
that impacts
Yeah,
us.
I mean, Well, this is actually not on the agenda, but we did talk about it last time, and so it's likely to be on the future agenda. This is the house on Lake Street. And this is at least some preliminary information on parking.
We requested a.
So 16 Lake Street, that's the
40.
big white one,
Yeah,
about 40.
Yep.
Oh, it's on the other.
Where Jill.
so it's a big one.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
At the last meeting, we said we needed more information.
Parking.
Yep.
Plus
We asked for another, both levels, both floor plan levels,
Okay.
and those should be included in the packet now.
okay, right. So one,
Did you email? us?
So is there an application?
there is an application here, but it's not.
Probably close enough.
So this is an application, but it's not on the agenda. What are you waiting on?
Yeah.
So there were some questions about parking last time,
Right?
and I had asked Adam for, as you had asked, if there was a site plan with the parking spaces shared, which I don't know if that's a bar that is higher than what's expected in, as what Marcy is holding there, or is that an adequate site plan depicting the parking spaces?
So somebody explained to me.
So I think that's. This
So
is,
it's 24 feet from the house, and how far is it to the creek?
do you know how far it is to the creek from the parking spaces, Adam?
95 feet. I think that's
Oh, wow, quite a ways.
why not?
So I guess just if there's any feedback on further information that you'd like to see there, then I can work with Adam to make sure that next time it comes, it's.
I brought the survey if you want to make a copy, but yeah,
Okay,
to make it easy to look at.
okay,
I'd like to see them.
sure.
It's more recent, the other one, you had to send it.
Yeah.
Right. The creek may have moved a few times since then. Don't give it a big printer and I don't know if you make it print.
Phones do a pretty good job of making.
Yeah, I think so. The one I have, I gave you
Yeah.
the scale. The drawing.
So the number of bedrooms that you are proposing for the joint rental are
4.
4, and then the others,
The other is for the occupant, which is
right?
in this case right now, to me.
Okay, and that just is a 1-bedroom unit.
Yeah, it's a little 1-bedroom apartment on the first floor.
So the joint working for would be 5 spaces. Is that what you understand?
Just 8 people, we're gonna have 8 people, so 4 bedrooms, 1
Yeah.
spot per person.
Right, and then 1 for the owner,
Yeah,
so 5 total.
Yep.
So here you've got a lot more than 5, but some of these we can't count.
yeah, and I was talking to neighbors and they said the best thing to do is so you don't have to back out on that street because it's like very narrow and the house is right up against the street, there's no sidewalk.
Right.
So when the construction next door, a lot of those guys, when they back out, it's like, there's a car parked there and those big trucks can't really make the turn.
Yeah.
They all said, why don't you just, so you can do a circular driveway, but don't have enough room for that
Right.
necessarily, but also you don't want to get too close to the creek. You want to have that
Sure.
zone space.
But it looks like, okay, so if you don't mind coming up here a minute. So you have 2 spaces in the garage?
Right, those are garage spaces.
Okay, and the 2 in front, we can't
Right,
count as the setback,
right. That's a basement garage.
but there's a door, and there's not like a garage door on there.
Well, there's a double door you put up and you can
That's
drive.
what I never did.
Yeah.
It's pretty, yeah.
Well, like I said, a big truck's not gonna make it through, but like the little BMW that's there, that's.
So you would replace that with a garage?
What I was
door?
proposing is adding just those 3 extra parking spaces, and we wouldn't have anybody parking anywhere in those,
So you'd have these 3 and these 2. And the third one.
just for the sun.
And I would say in your final submission,
Take those out.
eliminate.
Yeah.
Take those,
Oh, okay, no, why not?
yeah, do these three of those two.
Yeah.
And then, so how do these cars not have to back out?
Well, they do is they have
These
a
two.
turn and then they just drive out the other little driveway. Straight up.
They turn around back in here, you're saying?
Yeah, because that's just to show where cars would be parked, that's just an empty driveway. There's no one there.
Like, what, how does this car back out?
Well, you just have a little turnaround, I didn't know, like I said, you just,
So you're saying turn
Yeah.
around here? Okay. all right,
Yeah.
So show that too,
okay,
because it is a general
Yeah.
concern to try to pull out safely.
yeah,
Because I think there's parking on the side of the street, isn't there?
right, but we're not supposed to use that parking for,
I know, I'm saying, like, cars could block your.
Oh,
view.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
just on one side, and there's
there's,
no actual spots next to Cooper's property there.
Right, the parking is on the opposite side.
Yeah. Yeah, and the parking area is below, way below grade, so I haven't had a chance to measure, but the headlights don't actually go on the street and stuff, there's no neighbors across from there.
okay, and do you know how many trees will have to come down?
Right now, just one, that's what
Okay,
there was a spot to do a circular driveway, but then we'd have to take more trees out, the arborist said, those are great trees, don't,
okay. There's much more room to the creek than I realized there was, so that's good, that helps.
Yeah, it's like 2.4 acres.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is this a file map, or is this just a, do you know if this is filed with the town?
I was gonna bring it this week, we did it. Cause they have a one from 79, it's an older one.
Now, you had one from 79?
Yes,
Okay,
but I figured you might want the newer ones, the 98,
yeah, the county would probably love that, too.
This is from the Ross.
that's when they did it.
Yeah.
They had to do that because they merged, they bought that little vacant piece of property that's actually Pioneer Street, they got added on. That's why it's a nice little flat spot, it's like a little,
Yeah,
it's almost like a house might have been thought about being put there maybe. In some of the drawings, you see like a little shack there, like a little building, but it hasn't been there since the 1890s, I don't think.
all right. So. Does anyone have any questions or if these are the 3 parking spaces, plus these 2 meets the requirement? We have information on the floor plans here. So the question is. Sort of. Would say there's kind of 2 approaches. We could do it the same way we did G Maris and say, consider this for an accessory apartment and then. Proceed, or since it's. I mean, I would say that the zoning law has really never been clear about, it designates what a dwelling is, but it doesn't say everything that has that is a dwelling.
Right.
So particularly if the tax map doesn't say that this is basically 2-family, then.
Yeah, I just thought it was a perfectly occupant rule about having someone there 24.
Yeah.
That actually works out perfect because it's
Yeah.
attached, but it's not a separate unit.
Yeah, it does exactly what we,
Yeah,
that's what the.
Has no
purpose
separate-
of the occupancy is,
Yeah.
right?
it's a nice little bar.
Mhm. And it's this whole piece, like that's living.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a personal preference as to whether we just consider that as part of the total property or whether,
Well, we never rent that out to anybody else, that would just be, that wouldn't be for rented to anyone else.
right,
Because we always have had an occupant anyway.
true, but you can, like if there was an outside entrance and there was no door here, it would
Yeah,
still,
Right.
according to the rules that we have in the zoning law, it could still be operated because it's all single family.
yeah,
And you still have,
Yeah, I
approximately monitor the activity.
yeah, I think it was just keep it a single family just because,
Okay.
I think like that 3 family, there's a certain. That's a valuable thing to have in Cooperstown, just because there's not a lot of 3 families, but. That little apartment, you could rent it maybe to somebody has a short-term thing at the hospital or something like that, but. We're kind of really using it for ourselves,
Okay.
I stay there while I'm painting,
Okay, Is everybody agree with that, just considering the totality as a single family dwelling?
Yeah.
Even though this is set up to have that option,
Mhm.
okay,
And I think also we just take the door off, one of the doors, that it's not a door anymore. I think Jill, that actually, when she bought the place, it was a separate apartment, right? It's like in-law suite sort of. because
Yeah, the rocks.
The Ross used to have like one of their relatives living there, and that's why they had a separate entrance and all that,
where's the separate entrance?
and the back,
Oh,
right by the kitchen, there's a separate door.
Got it. Okay. All right, so if everyone's comfortably on the board and your preference is to just not to structure this as an accessory apartment, but to have it as
Right.
part of the totality of this single family residence. And then I guess all 4 bedrooms upstairs, I think, right? And none of these are bedrooms down here, okay. Okay, so the only, I mean, you've given us the information here, but it would be helpful to kind of just only give us the information we need, because this could be
Okay.
misconstrued. And I would suggest you may want to like lay it over top of a survey, because there's a lot of accuracy, assumed in the
Yeah.
survey. And they're similar scales, just a little bit bigger, but, so do not show any of these,
Okay,
don't show that one.
right,
Because you just need to show 5 legal spaces.
Right.
I mean, you can, the way the law specifically says, you can actually park here. It's just that you can't count it as required parking.
right, like I could park there or something like
Well,
that.
depends if you could park there, but
Oh,
yeah, I mean, as long,
yeah,
I presume that, I don't know whether you're likely to rent to for unrelated people or a family group that needs 4 bedrooms or.
yeah, I would think to find more families. Okay.
So likely you'll not necessarily always need 4 spaces for 4 bedrooms,
Right,
but you'll have, okay. So I would just, show these spaces, show however the back or turnaround you want, and make sure that if we go and look at the site, then it makes sense that you can actually,
Right.
elevations and slopes and stuff like that, you can get there, and it is kind of.
yeah, I have a landscaper, engineer, I'll look at it,
Okay.
but just, we had snow before, now it's nice to get a little marky right now. but-
Okay, so just, I would just say,
Okay.
this is close to it, but I would make it even, just the pieces of information that we.
Right.
For our purpose.
It's just my skill with the computer for moving, I actually kind of drew those with the paint or whatever.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. I think we got it to scale when we blew it up, when we measured it out.
yeah, it looks like you did pretty
Yeah.
close. Okay, good, so. It will be helpful to have a copy of this or a scan of it or something like that, and then we would use that as a base for the.
Right, we ran through the electricians coming this week, the past inspections, we give us form, and then we had the fire people come,
Okay,
and, all that stuff there, he's ready to go. But I didn't want to mess the procedure up because I didn't know, so I just want to get it ready.
okay. Well, I mean, I'm comfortable if everyone else is going ahead and considering this a preliminary meeting, that we could set up a public hearing. for
Right.
The next meeting. Jackson will send out notices to a lot of people, everybody within 400 feet, so it'll be on Main Street, everyone will know. But anyone who has interest or, comment, just want to come to the meeting or call in with questions, and come by and see what rectify it, or whatever.
The only question the landscaper had to text me while I was sitting there. He wanted to know like materials, like what we can use to. We're thinking of something that's not impermeable, something that water can get through, obviously, but then. Because we're only gonna use it in the summer,
Yeah.
so it's just so it look green and all that,
Yeah,
try to make it as green as possible, The only spot where you think there might be issues when you're going up, you might have to have something more substantial like asphalt, just to get up the incline.
I mean, I would say that in general, we would prefer to have permeable things, but I think basically it's up for you to, I mean, you have so much land.
Yeah.
That it's different than where we have properties where
Right.
things will be 50% paved or something.
Right. I just have to change the way things look at.
Yeah.
So I have houses that only have to be stored, so.
Yeah. So I would say, limit any kind of hard surface, but use it where it's needed and practical.
Right,
And just tell us what those materials are
right,
when you show the new layout here.
right. And one of the things, a good advantage of that is also because it's so much lower than the street, and there's an older fence there from the 1700s. It's still a piece of it. Like, I see them, so.
Yeah, have you talked to your neighbors and talked to the signs?
Yeah, I got all the papers, they said, you know, they, big things, they want a certain hedge taken out, but it doesn't belong to us, well, some other highway street, but. They want us to thin out all these dead trees and things that are there, it's.
Yeah,
One of the trees looks like a tree from Poltergeist that attacked little Billy in his bedroom, it's sitting right up by the water.
okay. Yeah, I just didn't know, like headlights down in here, whether they would see any of that or whether it's lower.
No, yeah, maybe I'll face it the other way, they actually, there's a tree line there
They're
that.
coming in, it'll still,
There's a satellite photo, you can see where all the trees are, too, I think I put one in there.
I'm sorry, what?
There's satellite photos, you can see the trees and
Okay,
stuff.
okay, yeah. Okay. Good,
That was my first attempt at trying to draw something.
no, it's better than we usually get. So, appreciate it. All right, so we'll set up the public hearing for a 4-bedroom short-term rental, owner occupied, at our February meeting.
What's the date of that? February.
First Tuesday, whatever it is. So we're gonna have 2 public hearings at the next meeting, February meeting.
Okay.
So I number 1 and 76 fair will be the first one, and then 77.
This is what you guys have on file. County has on file 1979.
Yeah, see, we don't, that's actually our file with the county,
Yeah.
the village doesn't have those files, and then they can get access to them, but
Okay.
it's really 2 separate.
Should I give them that newer version though? Should it just?
I would file it, but I think they're gonna need to reproduce, well, I don't know, you can ask them what their rules are, usually they need an original stamp, and usually you need a reproducible thing. But yeah, I think it's always good to have
Have some of the original there.
current ones, yeah,
The house is a different shape back then,
yeah,
you know, it was more of an L.
yeah.
You know, friend. I'll make one for,
You know, the real property opposite the county has very large plot.
yeah, we have one at, go to engineering, but.
Great.
Okay, all right, so,
I just want to have, I have a meeting at the Elks Lodge, so is it okay if I go or?
absolutely, yeah.
Nice meeting everybody.
Nice to meet you.
I love this room, it's very nice. I'm looking at all this.
All right, enjoy.
Thank you much, guys.
Thank you.
And
All right, so we have minutes. You have the regular meetings.
No, never, I was slow to review. Did you bring them in, Marcia, or did I leave them in a pile over there?
Oh, yeah, I can have one of them.
I did make the correction, Marcy, you'll see, you were correct, I changed the wording.
Oh, okay.
So I noted that. in this minutes.
Yep, I got your emails.
The only comment I had was just to make sure that the name match and the way the other one said it, but I think he was correct. It's the old one that says Eugene and it's the new one that says Frank.
So Frank's not gonna be here till April,
He's gone, yeah, I think he's back in April, or not back in.
But I mean, he's gone, he's not gonna be here next week.
Right.
next month,
Right. So anytime somebody knows that they're not able to be at a meeting, give us fair warning, but that's good.
Yeah, we don't have any,
I would probably look at the April.
we don't have any,
Look at all, we don't have any, we don't have any update on the fitness side of it.
I don't have an update on that, and that was, I'm not gonna touch base with
She
you.
liked it, but she's on way right now. She.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, she came to just sit and listen.
yes, she wanted to have here in the bubble.
Oh, right. So if anybody thinks of any, we have 2 alternate positions, so we would be lovely to fill both of them. If anyone has any candidates, please pass it on to me and I'll pass on to the mayor or talk to the mayor directly. Always be on the lookout.
Thank you.
They could be village, I don't think they would be homeowners, I think they have to be residents.
yeah, you could be a renter. if you want.
What I don't know is like if you owned a business but resided outside, I don't know that you could be on in that situation. So you can own a property, but I think, I'm pretty sure you have to be a resident.
Yeah.
Like you own a property, like you own But I think you have to be a resident, whether you own the property or not. Is my guess.
Yeah.
To be verified.
You could be
by-
in Cooper Lane or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
so just out of curiosity, the Ananias, do you think they? Just decided not to,
They told me a month ago, it would have saved me
I know, a lot of mailing.
85 envelopes. I'm not sure. I asked for some more detailed measurements on the parking plan and I offered to stop by today and look it over with them. And I sent that out last night and this morning at
Yeah,
6:45, that email was in my box saying they decided not to do it.
I figured maybe they decided just because of the neighbor's letter.
I
But,
didn't actually share that with them. Which
oh, you didn't?
maybe I should have, but I did not.
Oh, okay, I think it's always good to have people prepared to
Yes,
respond.
yes.
I mean, I didn't know that there was anything really that was. You know, I know,
But they dealt with that last time, too, it was really quite something.
I know,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That's something,
That was them.
yeah,
forget that.
yeah,
I guess I still felt as though I was in dialogue with them. Until they canceled and
okay,
certainly would have shared that information with them as I tried to encourage them to come to me.
okay,
Which
yeah,
was part of my email last night. Was
Okay.
encouraging.
So you're gonna invite them to the next meeting?
well, they withdrawn, so,
Oh, they withdrew.
yeah, so I gave you some, it was just.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's true,
Yeah, something like 26 now. I had Andy Bonet from the village of Middlefield reach out and ask for details on how we have a short-term rental situation set up.
I think they've declined multiple times to do that in their law,
Yeah,
Well, maybe they're trying again.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed like near the bottom of the first page, it talks about the Glen Avenue property says of less than 750 square feet. And the application from 3 years ago says less than 500 square feet. You know where the 750 came from?
What doesn't the seven, isn't the
Isn't the
750, in the law,
Oh,
you know, in other words, you just.
So that's what he wrote in the application. So for an existing apartment less than 750. I wonder what it is actually.
Threshold.
No, there's no threshold for. Accessory apartment, otherwise, no, there were, no, there were, well. I mean, it used to be like proportional, you know, proportional somehow to the main house, but
yeah.
I don't think there's. An ADU is there.
But there's a
Did you follow up with these people? Because that's what's going on. Says you're supposed to follow up on what?
Yeah, I did follow up. And for now, they've put it on hold.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's just around. But yeah, I wouldn't have much to follow up on it with him about it unless without the input from this body.
Averill Road, that's. We're waiting for them to do.
Yeah, he said he got something late this afternoon, but there's no indication, but she hasn't had a chance to study it or look at it yet.
Yep.
But there's no indication in the list of changes that have any information that indicates the variance.
Right, but maybe if they want to build. I think they're trying to get as much buffer zone as possible in there, so I don't see them suddenly building bike storage racks or anything that any of the other boards requested within setbacks or doing anything that would
Yeah.
require a variance.
They have plenty of space outside the setback. But when, whenever it's come, or whenever it's convenient, please send a copy of that, just, I'm curious, just sort of how things are going.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's noticed or not, but there's been a pile of the documentation for that is posted now on the homepage of the village website.
Oh, I know that.
And so it's tomorrow when I get a chance or something, I will reach out to the gentleman who updates the website and ask him to take down the old documents and replace them with the new dates.
Good.
Which I would be well to do before the trustees meeting, but both Cindy and Jenna have as well, so
Okay.
don't rely on getting some trustees.
So, any minutes, corrections or changes?
I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, I didn't see it.
I read them, I didn't make any changes.
Okay, all right, is there a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
Second. Further discussion? Ayes? Or noes? Oh, it's good, wow,
That's a good question.
that doesn't happen very often, no changes at all.
No, I just like to miss.
You know, Marjorie, it's your first song. Something.
Yeah. This is easier in there somewhere. This.
This stuff. If you, this 750 versus 500 is puzzling to me, like, if you can get any kind of sense of.
Right.
Which one is more accurate, that's how it's documented,
Yep.
so, but I don't know why it's.
It's way less than, I mean, for some reason, it was an excellent one.
Laser measure.
The previous days had less than 500.
Yeah, and but then
Wait
less.
a second, smaller. This one is the smaller level. Oh, that would be rented short term. Okay. I just didn't know what changed, or if he's just guessing a different number now. All right. Anything else to discuss? Anybody? We're gonna go home and get dinner. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Next meeting is February 7th. It's the first meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the latest way to be.